Thank you. So our firm is called Landform Architecture, and we're a small, regionally focused architecture firm. Our office is on Main Street in PenTALKton, and I'm going to talk today about some of the sustainable design projects we're doing in the community. So how should we live? This is a question that we're grappling with in our practice. It's an ancient question in philosophy. It's the foundation of religion, and it's also a good question to ask if you're looking at an official community plan. How should we live is not the same question as what do we want. You have to be very careful with what we want, because if you just give someone what they want, essentially you're a drug dealer. If you give people what they need, you're a doctor. And I think we'd all rather be doctors than drug dealers. So what do we need? We need some kind of balance with nature. We need to live as a society in balance with the earth around us. Because we don't live on the earth, we are the earth. We're as much a part of the earth as the rocks and the animals. So we need to find a way to live that's in balance. But this doesn't mean that we have to deprive ourselves to live in balance with nature. It's actually an opportunity. And in our practice, it's something that we call sustainable hedonism, where we can live more sustainably, but we can actually live better. We can ride our bikes, we can grow tomatoes, and our lives are better. So what are the principles of sustainable hedonism? Well, respect the site. This is a house we did on Campbell Mountain, cantilevered into a gully, set in natural landscape. And similarly, the city of PenTALKton, set in its natural landscape, buffered by its agricultural land. Turn our buildings to the sun. Of course, we can heat our buildings through the winter if we orient them to the south, but it's also beautiful. It's gray here in the winter. When the sun shines, it's beautiful. But if you're going to bring in the sun, shade your buildings. This is a doctor's office that we're doing on Carmi. And if you're going to turn all your windows to the south, which we chose to do for this building, you have to protect them. So exterior shading, roof overhangs. This becomes the language of the architecture. And you need to get air through your buildings. Cross ventilation, windows that open, doors that open, so that the breezes can move through the building. And in this way, you can avoid requirements for air conditioning, at least for most of the year. Local materials. We live in an incredibly rich part of the world in terms of natural resources. We have companies like Structurlam manufacturing glue lams, probably the largest manufacturer in North America. So in our work, we try to use wood, manufactured materials from the community. We have an incredible pool of fabricators. Energy efficiency. This is the childcare building for Okanagan College, which we just finished. It's a certified passive house, passive house certified building, which means it's probably the most energy efficient building in the Okanagan. A typical commercial building uses 305 kilowatt hours per square meter each year. This building uses 72, so 25% of a typical building. And if we can get our buildings down to that level of performance, then it becomes economical to add solar panels and neutralize your energy use. This is a walkway that we've designed for Okanagan College for in front of the childcare building. This would make the building energy positive. Unfortunately, the city is trying to make it more difficult to make these kinds of contributions to our buildings, and that's why we need to have an official community plan which guides us in the right direction. So what is the big idea with this work? Well, maybe the big idea is that we don't need a big idea. We just need a lot of little good ideas. This is a small project that we did last year for a 1940s Art Moderne house on Braid Street. And from the street, it's very modest. But from the backyard, it's a little bit wild. There's no extra volume visible to the community, but we've made an older building functional for a retiring couple, and it's within walking distance of Main Street. On the inside, the building is even a little more wild. And so we can live in ways that are pleasurable, ways that we want to live, but also strengthen our communities, make them more enjoyable, better places to age in place sustainably. Density. This is a carriage house that we did in the backyard of a house downtown. It's 500 square feet, costs less than $100,000. Again, doesn't significantly change the form and character of the neighborhood, but doubles the number of occupants on this single property. Heritage. This is the Shatford Center, which we renovated. For $500,000, we turned 20,000 square feet of building into usable space. It would easily have cost $10 million to build this from scratch, and Main Street was able to preserve those wonderful buildings that anchor that part of the cityscape. And culture. This is a veterans tribute that we did for the West Bench. So we need to tell the stories of the people who have moved to this place, what brought them here, how they built their communities. And through these small moves, perhaps these not big ideas, we can explore how should we live? How do we want to live? How do we live in the Okanagan? And I think those aren't necessarily new ideas. They might be really old ideas, but they're good ideas, and we've never fully put them to use. Thank you.